Hello broadcast, today we're going to be reading the next part of Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Remember in the last part, all the staff for the Space Hotel USA had landed. They'd got there, they were speaking to the president on the phone saying, it's amazing, the chandeliers are fantastic. And then suddenly there were all these screams, these shouts and crunching noises. But answer came there none. Up there in space, all was silent. Something nasty's happened, said the president. It's those men from Mars, said the ex-chief of the army. I told you to let me blow them up. Silence, snapped the president. I've got to think. The loudspeaker began to crackle. Hello, it said. Hello, hello. Are you receiving me? Space Control in Houston. The president grabbed the mic on his desk. Leave this to me, Houston, he shouted. President Gilligrass here, receiving you loud and clear. Go ahead. Astronaut Shuckworth here, Mr. President. Back aboard the transport capsule. Thank heavens. What happened, Shuckworth? Who's with you? We're most of us here, Mr. President, I'm glad to say. Shanks and Shadow are with me, and a whole bunch of other folks. I guess we lost maybe a couple of dozen people altogether. Pastry chefs, hall porters, that sort of thing. It sure was a scramble getting out of that place alive. What do you mean you lost 24 people? Said the President. How did you lose them? Gobbled up, replied Shuckworth. One gulp and that was it. I saw a big 6-foot-tall assistant manager being swallowed up just like you'd swallow a lump of ice cream. Mr. President, no chewing, nothing, just down the hatch. But who? Yelled the President. Who are you talking about? Who did the swallowing? Hold it, cried Shuckworth. Oh my Lord, here they all come now. They're coming after us. They're swarming out the Space Hotel. They're coming out in swarms. You have to excuse me a moment, Mr. President. No time to talk right now. Chapter 10. Transport capsule in trouble. Attack number 1. While Shuckworth, Shanks and Shadow were being chased out of the Space Hotel by the Knids, Mr. Wonka's Great Glass Elevator was orbiting the Earth at tremendous speed. Mr. Wonka had all his booster rockets firing and the elevator was reaching speeds of 34,000 miles an hour instead of the normal 17,000. They were trying, you see, to get away from that huge, angry, vermicious Knid with the purple behind. Mr. Wonka wasn't afraid of it, but Grandma Josephine was petrified. Petrified means really, really, really scared. Every time she looked at it, she let out a piercing scream and clapped her hands over her eyes. But of course, 34,000 miles an hour is dawdling to a Knid. Half the young Knids think nothing of travelling 1,000,000 miles between lunch and supper, then another 1,000,000 before breakfast the next day. How else could they travel between the planet Vermes and other stars? Mr. Wonka should have known this and saved his rocket power, but he kept right on going and the giant Knid kept right on cruising effortlessly alongside, glaring into the elevator with its wicked red eye. You people have bruised my backside, the Knid seemed to be saying. And in the end, I'm going to get you for that. They had been streaking around the Earth like this for about 45 minutes when Charlie, who was floating comfortably beside Grandpa Joe near the ceiling, said suddenly, There's something ahead. Can you see it, Grandpa? Straight in front of us. I can, Charlie, I can. Good heavens, it's the Space Hotel. It can't be, Grandpa. We left it miles behind us long ago. Aha, said Mr. Wonka. We've been going so fast, we've gone all the way around the Earth and caught up with it again. A splendid effort. And there's the transport capsule. Can you see it, Grandpa? It's just behind the Space Hotel. There's something else there too, Charlie, if I'm not mistaken. I know what those are, screamed Grandma Josephine. They're the vicious Knids. Turn back at once. Reverse, yelled Grandma Georgina. Go the other way. Dear lady, said Mr. Wonka, this isn't a car on the motorway. When you're in orbit, you cannot stop and you cannot go backwards. I don't care about that, shouted Grandma Josephine. Put on the brakes, stop, backpedal, the Knids will get us. Now let's for heaven's sake stop this nonsense once and for all, Mr. Wonka said sternly. You know very well my elevator is completely Knid-proof. You have nothing to fear. They were closer now, and they could see the Knids pouring out from the tail of the Space Hotel and swarming like wasps around the transport capsule. They're attacking it, cried Charlie. They're after the transport capsule. It was a fearsome sight. The huge green egg-shaped Knids were grouping themselves into squadrons with about 20 Knids to a squadron. Squadron means like almost like an army group. So they were in like an army group here, army group there, an army group there. It was a fearsome sight. Then each squadron formed itself into a line abreast with a 1 yard between canids. Then, one after another, the squadrons began attacking the transport capsule. They attacked in reverse with their pointed rear ends in front, and they came in at a fantastic speed. Wham! One squadron attacked, bounced off and whirled away. Crash! Another squadron smashed against the side of the transport capsule. "Get us out of here, you madman!" screamed Grandma Josephine. "What are you waiting for? They'll be coming after us next," yelled Grandma Georgina. "For heaven's sake, man, turn back." "I doubt very much if that capsule of theirs is canid-proof," said Mr. Wonka. "Then we must help them," cried Charlie. "We've got to do something. There are 150 people inside that thing." Down on the earth, in the White House study, the president and his advisors were listening in horror to the voices of the astronauts over the radio. "They're coming at us in droves," Shuckworth was shouting. "They're bashing us to bits." "But who?" yelled the president. "You haven't even told us who's attacking you." "These dirty, great, greenish-brown brutes with red eyes," shouted Shanks, butting in. "They're shaped like enormous eggs and they're coming at us backwards." "Backwards?" cried the president. "Why backwards?" "Because their bottoms are even more pointy than their tops," shouted Shuckworth. "Look out! Here comes another lot. Bang! We won't be able to stand this much longer, Mr. President. The waitresses are screaming and the chambermaids are all hysterical and the bellboys are being sick and the hall porters are saying their prayers. So what shall we do, Mr. President, sir? What on earth shall we do?" "Fire your rockets, you idiot, and make a re-entry," shouted the president. "Come back to Earth immediately." "That's impossible," cried Charlotte. "They've busted our rockets. They smashed them to smithereens." "We're cooked, Mr. President," shouted Shanks. "We're done for. Because even if they don't succeed in destroying the capsule, we'll have to stay up here in orbit for the rest of our lives. We can't make a re-entry without rockets." The president was sweating and the sweat ran all the way down the back of his neck and inside his collar. "Any moment now, Mr. President," Shanks went on, "we're going to lose contact with you altogether. There's another lot coming at us from the left, and they're aiming straight for our radio aerial. Here they come. I don't think we'll be able to..." The voice cut. The radio went dead. Hope you enjoyed listening to that part of the story. We're going to read the next part tomorrow.